Hi and welcome to Post Social. My name is Oliver, and in today's podcast we talk to Charlie Blair about her company, the Blair Academy. We discuss the work she does and how her company tries to battle loneliness with youth and elderly. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check the description for our Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn pages. Hi Charlie, thank you for being here today. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Oliver. I'm really well. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. Could you give us a quick summary of yourself, what you do, and what your company is about?
Sure. So my name's Charlie Blair, and I'm the founder and CEO of a social enterprise called the Blair Academy. And we're all about health, happiness, and hip hop. So we focus on delivering hip hop dance workshops in care and community settings with the aim of reducing loneliness and also improving people's physical and mental health.
Very nice. So you're quite into dance then, I'm guessing.
I'm definitely into dance. It's my thing. I feel very lucky to have it. It's quite cliche, but I've been dancing as long as I can remember. I was that child that would be like tugging on her parents, like, come and watch me dance, come and look at my routine that I've just made up. So I've always loved to dance, but I didn't actually study it on a professional level until I went to college. And even then it was like, okay, this is a hobby, it will stay on the side. But by the time it came to applying for university, I knew that I just wanted to do a dance degree and that's where my heart was at. So that's when I kind of made the choice to study it at higher education.
Right. Talking about university, you went to mine, East London. That's because I've seen your picture around in the knowledge doc. I went yesterday actually. It's quite big from here. So what degree did you do at uni?
So I did the urban practice degree. So it's called Dance Urban Practice. And for anyone that doesn't know, urban styles often were styles that were made up kind of socially in the community as opposed to in a dance studio. So for instance, we studied hip hop, of course, we studied house, pop-in, lock-in, break-in, lots of different social vernacular dance styles.
Right, interesting. So more about Blair Academy. Can you go more into depth, like the work you do, what kind of classes you offer?
Sure. So with the work that we do, it's very person-centered and kind of tailored to the different groups of people that we go and see. We're a mobile organisation, so we go to places where older adults or adults that are living with disabilities are already meeting or getting together. So that might be a care home that they live in. It could be a group at the local community centre, perhaps an activity at their mental health hub. So we go to lots of different venues that are kind of within the health and social care sector and the community sector as well. And as I say, most of those are chair-based because we work with a lot of people that are wheelchair users and have different accessibility issues. So I took all of the kind of cool moves that I learned in my degree and I thought about how I could adapt them so they could be done in a chair and also so that they could meet kind of care outcomes or the needs that people might have or particular health and fitness goals that they may have. And really it all came from working with my nan. So while I was in my final year at UEL, my nan was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. So as you can imagine, I was juggling like my dissertation with her chemotherapy appointments, and it was a really stressful time. And she was given an exercise program to follow. And it was quite kind of aerobic based, more kind of traditional methods of working with older adults, lots of contemporary and ballroom dancing suggestions. And my nan didn't like it. She was very vocal in letting people know that she didn't like the program. She had no desire to engage with it, even though, it could potentially help her with her health and her recovery at that time. So I adapted the program. as I said, I went through all of the cool moves I was doing at uni and worked out how I could mold them and shape them so that they would work for my nan. And I thought it would be a really isolated thing that we just did in her living room. But actually, she encouraged me to call care homes and community centres and offer it out to other older people. She said, I can't be the only person over 60 that likes hip hop. She's like, I think you're onto something here. So it was her that encouraged me to actually take it out into the community and use it in that way.
Right. I'm sure you've heard this a few times, but when I was doing research on the Blair Academy and I saw the hip hop classes for the elderly, at first it didn't really sit with me because I'd never associated the two really. But I guess it's a good way for them to get engaged. So I'm very sorry to hear about your nan and whatever she went through. Would you say that's the inspiration from starting the Blair Academy?
Yeah, so firstly, what you said about kind of that head-turning moment when you read our work, that does come up time and time again. And often people don't associate hip-hop with that age group. It's something that's considered quite a young, youthful thing. So on that level, it's very intergenerational what we do. We're bringing these older people kind of into the current day and making them feel in touch perhaps with age groups that they didn't feel connected to before. And I think unless you have your grandparents in your life or in this country or alive, you don't really get many opportunities as a young person to interact with older people. And because of that, I think young people kind of have stereotypes about old people and older people have stereotypes about young people. And the only way to diminish those is actually to kind of expose them to one another. So on that level, we do have a kind of intergenerational element. But what we found is that hip hop is actually a lot more recognizable to that age group than we might presume. So a lot of the samples in hip hop music are taken from songs that came from the disco era, the funk era, blues, jazz. And of course, these people would have been in their kind of teens and their early 20s when these music styles were popular. So we find actually they teach us quite a lot. I'll go in and say, oh, look at this new song I found. And they're like, this isn't new. We can show you the original for this one. So there is that element too. And I think also we make the assumption that older people just kind of stop wanting to learn or try new things, which isn't true. It's really important, of course, that they reminisce on music and memories from the past, but they also kind of get the chance to do something that's totally new as well. In terms of inspiration, my nan absolutely is a massive driving force in what we do, and she passed away a few months after we launched, so it really is a kind of legacy to her and how we managed to change her outlook on exercise. But when I first started the company, my initial focus was actually going into hostels and homeless shelters, and that just came from my personal experience of living in a hostel before I came to uni when I was 19. So in that time, I just saw the power of movement in any capacity, like how it can release endorphins and make you feel good and give you a space to kind of express yourself. So I took that personal experience and just started to use it in hostels and, as I say, homeless shelters. And that's where I thought we would kind of stay at first, because I realized that was a really isolating time in my life. So I wanted to help other people not feel isolated when they were going through that. But then, as I say, everything happened with my nan, and I started to trial my programs on her and in care homes. And then when she passed away, I trained as a carer for the elderly, which she had really encouraged me to do. So then I started to go out into the community in people's homes and see what it was like to live with a multitude of health conditions. And I saw that actually people living in their 90s were just as lonely as I was at 19 living in the YMCA. So it was a light bulb moment that loneliness isn't something that discriminates. It can affect any of us. And I think the pandemic really showed people that as well. We started very much in hostels, and now we've grown out into lots of different community spaces.
Well, I must say, it's a very good mindset you have there.
Yeah.
Talking about the pandemic, your main focus is to tackle loneliness as a company. How did you switch up classes during the pandemic? Because obviously, because of lockdown, you couldn't be in close parameter with them. So I'm just wondering, how did you make changes to keep your classes going?
Mm. At the start of the pandemic, I think, like many companies, we were shocked and just really anxious because, as you say, we weren't able to actually go into any of the venues that we usually go into. The care homes closed their doors, community centres closed, etc. So at first it was sheer panic, if I'm honest. I wasn't sure how we were going to still meet these people that ultimately really needed us and were going to need us even more with the effects of the pandemic. So at first it was panic, but within a couple of days, like most people, I looked at our kind of digital options and I managed to secure some funding for two projects which were really instrumental. One was funding portal devices so that care homes could live stream our classes. And also Zoom offerings for people living out in the community. And then we also got funding for a range of DVDs that we were able to send out to care homes and people living in the community that didn't have access to the internet, because digital exclusion became a real barrier for us in meeting people during the pandemic. So as I say, with loneliness being at the core of what we do, we knew that people were likely to feel even more isolated with the lockdown restrictions. So for us, our kind of the fire in our belly and why we do what we do just intensified. And although we had to work a lot harder to reach these people and do what we normally do, we were lucky to, as I say, get that support in terms of funding, to actually buy the equipment to make it possible. And I think in combating loneliness, there of course is the element of like bringing people together socially, and we weren't able to do that so much in the pandemic. But I think more so what came to light is that when you have a sense of purpose and you feel fulfilled and you have things in your life to look forward to that resonate with you and your experiences, that can really help in alleviating those feelings of social isolation and loneliness.
Right. Very interesting. Yeah. While doing my research prior to this, I came across something about Points of Light award scheme. I'm not too familiar on it. Do you think you could give like a description of what entails it?
Sure. So the Points of Light scheme is an award programme that Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, developed, I believe, at the start of the lockdown, because he wanted to shine a light on people that were doing great work out in their community, despite all of the difficult conditions around the pandemic. So I was a lucky recipient of that award in September of last year. The announcement was made, and then I received the letter from Sir Ian Duncan-Smith in December. So essentially, as I say, it's about kind of shining a light and giving recognition to people that are kind of unsung heroes, if you like, working in the community that not really many people know about. So it was really nice for us to have like that recognition that, like the Prime Minister actually knows who we are and what we're doing. We've managed to engage over 5,000 people in the last 3.5 years. So to have that acknowledgement from him was really nice. And of course, I asked for a return address and said, I'd love to come into Parliament and be more involved in some of the conversations around social care reform, around inactivity in the UK and how we're combating that amongst a multitude of age groups. So I'm hoping that, it wasn't only just the kind of award process, but actually it's going to open some doors for us to kind of have a say in bigger policies and legislation and stuff like that, which would be incredible.
Sounds very interesting. Congrats on the award. I know it might be a year too late, but what's I can do. Thank you very much for today. Got very good answers there. So for like everyone listening's definitely learned a lot about the work you do at Blair Academy.
I would hope so. If anyone wants to reach out after this, they're more than welcome to. You can check us out on Instagram at the Blair Academy, or one word. Our website is blairacademy.com. And just for the kind of joy that you get watching some of those video clips, of the older people busting their moves with us, I really encourage everyone to follow us and check out what we're doing. If by any chance there's someone listening that works with older adults and thinks, the people that I support would love to give this a go, do reach out and get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for today.
Thanks, Oliver.